Hey guys, I'm just gonna hop right into it today. This is the Module 3 discussion. The first question was, why is the invisibility of oppression the most dangerous of all oppressive practices? And can pedagogies of assimilation be violent? Why or why not? The reason and the invisibility of the oppression is the most dangerous of all the oppressive practices is because it's not seen by the public right away. Um, it's hidden and masked behind other things, and it's very similar to what's going on at Standing Rock. And by the time that people realize that it's oppressive and that people are being oppressed, it's far too late. That they've been pushed out of their land, they've been killed, things have been stolen from them, so their way of life has been taken from them. The Standing Rock Pipeline is seen as oppressive and settler colonialism because it is the native land, but that government is actively trying to move them off of the land by using the proximity of this pipeline to do so without force. So they're not going in there and saying, hey, you need to leave this land. They're going in and they're saying, hey, we're going to put this pipeline here that we know you do not like and that you do not agree with, all right, in a way of saying, well, if you don't like it, just move. They're standing their ground. They don't want to leave their native land or their land. You go back, is the question of, can pedagogies of assimilation be violent? Yes, they can. Look back at Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears. Andrew Jackson wanted the Native American population to assimilate. He thought they could assimilate into the culture. At least that's what he said up front. But then he forcibly removes them, coerces them into giving them, saying, hey, we'll give you $5 million. The 5 civilized tribes will give you $5 million, and we'll move you out west and give you land out west. But you're got to give us up 7 million acres of your native land in order to do this. And they sign it because they're being coerced, they are being threatened, they're worried about their families. When we were reading about the settler colonialism, as by Patrick Wolf. Where something really came to my mind, and it was assimilate or else. Assimilate, you're either going to assimilate or something else is going to happen to you that's going to be far worse than assimilating into American culture or the culture of the masses. He says in that article we read that this is a violent process, talking about the settler colonialism. Violent process where usually the more advanced society wins out and drives a smaller society out of their homeland, with some being left over that will ultimately join the culture or be pushed out in some shape or form. You think of military, you think of the advancements during that time period, during these time periods when people are being pushed out. The Native Americans, all right, they didn't necessarily have the most advanced equipment. The Americans had more advanced equipment, so they coerced them back, basically saying, "Hey, you either leave, or and showing them the gun and say, we can overpower you." But basically, it's a violent process because whoever's the more advanced society has the opportunity to push them out with a show of force or with force. But if with that show of force and saying, "Hey, this is what we can do," a lot of times the under advanced society. That's probably not even a word, but backs off, says, "Okay, yeah, we'll leave. We want no trouble. We don't want it. We want to live." That's kind of what I got from that, from number one. Number two, the question. I know we switched it up because you can't find the episode, but I did answer the question on reflect on the politics of settler colonialism and how it impacts all U.S. citizens, both white and non-white. When you look at settler colonialism, let's take, for instance, the United States of America. You look at European white Caucasian people. Okay, makes current U.S. citizens in general look racist for the issues of the past because we have pushed people out of minority groups. We have taken over this land. My kids always they get really interested when we talk about this in class because a lot of it is part of the problem in our educational system. They come here and they think that we settled this land. No, we did not settle this land. We took a lot of this land from Native Americans. I'm actually about to start talking about the explorers in my history class and next week, and Christopher Columbus, and people are like, yeah, we get a holiday of Christopher Columbus, but you look at Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus came in um, and used force to take land and treat the indigenous population horribly, very horribly. And they look at that, they're like, wow, I didn't know that. And that's kind of how our educational system has kind of glossed over the dark side of history. They don't want to show that side of history where the oppression begins. And I think that's the biggest problem, is because we need our students to understand this so that we don't repeat it. But I can get off on a tangent on that. But also from the Patrick Wolf article I saw, it kind of goes with my other point on the last question. He's quoted as saying, disappear that the indigenous people disappear so far as the Europeans go to get out of the way to be eliminated, in order that the Europeans can bring in their subordinated, coerced labor, mix that labor with the soil, which is to say, set it to work on the expropriated land and produce a surplus profit for the colonizer. Basically saying, get the people out of there that are going to resist, bring in your coerced labor, your indentured servants, your slaves, bring them in who cannot fight back and who are not going to push back, and have them work the land in order for them to make that profit and push the indigenous people off the land, and create these groups of people just slowly start to, if they don't get eliminated, they end up assimilating in some shape or form. It gives the idea with politics and the both white and non-white. It gives the idea that the white people all they want is control. It's to control everybody, control every aspect. It wants to say that they're very racist. They only care about their people, that all non-white are foreign to this land, and that they are savages, and that they need to be treated as such. When in all reality, that's not how it is. It's not how it should be. Let me say that. It's not how it should be. Because when you look back at history, like I said earlier, we gloss over the fact early in kids' education that we push the indigenous people off of their land. And going back to Standing Rock is somewhat happening there now. It's just not coming directly to them and saying, hey, get off the land. It's saying, you don't like this pipeline. That's unfortunate. Maybe you should leave the land, because once you leave the land, we're going to take over that land and put another pipeline. So that's kind of what I got from this discussion. It was very eye-opening to see the settler colonialism talking about, and I was able to bring in Andrew Jackson, Trail of Tears. And when I talk about Andrew Jackson, I get so frustrated with my students, and they're like, "Man, you're preaching today," and I'm just like, "No, I want y'all to understand that he physically oppressed a whole group of people just to take their land, which a lot of them, they didn't even see that $5 million, because on the way out there they died of disease, they died of starvation, but they also died because they got robbed. They got their money and goods and livestock were stolen on the way out to Oklahoma, and if they even made it there, they showed up with nothing. And so I kind of get hot on this topic, but I hope y'all like my discussion. I look forward to having the conversation back with y'all throughout the discussion questions.